know that feeling, right? You walk into a store, you know exactly what you want, you head to the aisle, and the shelf is totally empty. It's so frustrating. Well, that empty shelf is actually the result of this massive, high-stakes guessing game that companies are playing every single day. Let's pull back the curtain and see how it works. I mean, this is the core of the problem. On one side of the coin, you've got those empty shelves. We call them stockouts. That means lost sales for the company and, a pretty annoyed customer. But on the other side, you have the exact opposite problem. Shelves overflowing with stuff nobody wants, all ending up on the clearance rack. That means lost profits. Walking this tightrope between too much and not enough, it's one of the toughest things in business.
All right, so let's dive right in. This is the heart of it all, the billion-dollar guessing game. The central question is simple, but the answer is anything but. How do companies try to perfectly match what they make with what you, the customer, are actually going to buy? The part of the company that handles all this craziness is called demand management. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the company's brain or its central nervous system. It takes in all the signals from the market. That's you, me, all of us buying stuff. And it shoots those signals back to the factory, telling them what to make, when to make it, and how much. Okay, before we go any further, we have to get one thing straight. And this is super important. We need to talk about the difference between a forecast and a plan. They sound kind of the same, but trust me, in this world, they are night and day. So here's the breakdown. A forecast, that's just an educated guess. It's the crystal ball. It's the company looking at all the data and saying, we think people are going to want about 10,000 of these this month. But a plan? That's a commitment. That's the factory saying, okay, based on that guess, we are actually going to make 8,000. You see the difference? One's a maybe, the other's a promise to act. And this quote right here just nails it. You can't fire a manager for getting a forecast wrong, right? I mean, nobody can predict the future perfectly. That's just not fair. But you absolutely can hold them accountable for how they react to that forecast. Did they make a smart plan? Did they execute it well? That's what really matters. So, okay, but how does a company that makes, say, custom cars plan the same way as a company that makes cereal? They seem like totally different worlds. Well, the answer comes down to something deep inside the company's DNA. It's all about one specific moment in their process. And that moment is called the customer order decoupling point. I know, it's a mouthful. We'll just call it the CODP. But the concept is actually pretty simple. It's the exact point where a product stops being some generic thing the company is making and starts becoming your thing. It's where they switch from guessing what the world wants to knowing exactly what you want. And depending on where that CODP happens, it totally changes the whole business. Think about it. If the point is way at the end, after everything's made, that's make to stock. You're just grabbing a can of soup off the shelf. If the point's a little earlier, it's assembled to order, like when you pick the parts for a custom computer online. Pull it back even further, you get make to order. And if it's right at the very beginning, you're an engineer to order territory, like designing a one-of-a-kind yacht. So what you're trying to manage is completely different in each of these models. For make to stock, our soup company, it's all about one thing. How much soup should we have sitting on the shelf? But for assemble to order, that computer company, it's not about finished computers. It's about having the right parts on hand. And once you get to make to order, inventory isn't really the problem anymore. The big challenge is just having enough factory time or capacity to build everything people are ordering. All right, so a company figures out its CODP, it knows its DNA. Now it has to make a big strategic choice about its production rhythm. And it boils down to a pretty cool analogy. Are they going to be a sprinter or a marathoner? This decision, sprinter or marathoner, doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It gets hashed out in this really important monthly meeting called Sales and Operations Planning, or S&OP. You got to picture it. All the bigwigs, from sales, marketing, finance, the factory floor, they all get in one room to figure out the game plan for the next few months. It is a huge deal. And in that S&OP meeting, they're basically arguing about two main strategies. First, you've got the chase strategy. That's our sprinter. When sales go up, production goes way up. When sales dip, production slams on the brakes. Then you've got the level strategy. That's our marathoner. They just set a nice, steady production pace and stick to it month after month, no matter what sales are doing. Now, as you can probably guess, there's a massive trade-off here. Chasing demand looks great because you don't have a lot of stuff sitting in a warehouse, right? Low inventory costs. But it's super expensive and chaotic to constantly hire people, then lay them off, then pay overtime. The level strategy, on the other hand, gives you a super stable workforce, which is great, but you're going to be paying a ton to store all the extra stuff you make when sales are slow. There's no magic bullet. It's all about what trade-off the company is willing to make. And this shows it perfectly. Look at the chase strategy. Production is just this chaotic, jagged line, trying to perfectly mirror demand. Now look at the level strategy. See that? Production is a straight, flat line, super predictable. And that gap between what's made and what's sold, well, that's your inventory, acting like a shock absorber for the whole system.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. Forecasts, plans, CODPs, sprinters, marathoners. So what's the big picture? Let's tie it all together and figure out what this ultimate balancing act really means. So let's just quickly hit the highlights. Number 1, demand management is the essential bridge connecting the company to its customers. Number 2, and don't forget this, forecasts are guesses, plans are actions, they are not the same thing. 3, the CODP, that really is the company's DNA. It defines how they operate. And finally, SNOP is that high-level huddle where they pick their strategy. Are we going to chase or are we going to level?
But, this whole game is constantly changing. And the next frontier is this idea called CPFR. Now, this is a real game changer. Instead of a company sitting in a room trying to guess what a big retailer is going to buy, they literally sit down with that retailer and create a single shared forecast together. It's moving from guessing to actually collaborating.
And that really leaves us with a huge question for the future. We all want more choices, right? We want stuff customized, and we want it delivered yesterday. So in a world like that, is it even possible for one company to come up with a perfect plan on its own? Or is the future of this billion-dollar guessing game to stop guessing altogether and just start talking to each other?